Today, we celebrate the life and legacy of Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. Madiba's extraordinary life was a triumph of the human spirit. He endured the brutal weight of oppression and emerged not with a vision of vengeance and division, but of reconciliation, peace and unity. Today, Madiba's legacy is now our responsibility. We must carry forward this commitment to peace, justice and human dignity. One of the central lessons of Mandela's life was that power is not a personal possession to be hoarded. Power is about lifting others up. It's about what we can achieve with one another and for one another. Power is about people. In every facet of his life, Nelson Mandela demonstrated the power of collective grassroots action to drive change and progress and deliver power to the powerless.
Welcome to Talk of Africa 360, your source for insightful news, analysis, and thoughtful commentary. If you value informed perspectives and fact-based reporting, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss an update. Disclaimer: the content on this channel is based on reliable public sources and credible online information. It is intended strictly for educational and analytical purposes. We do not promote or endorse political violence, hate speech, or any form of discrimination. Our goal is to inform, not to inflame. Thanks for being here. Let's stay informed together.
Good evening, Africa and the world. Today, history has once again echoed through the chambers of the United Nations as global leaders, diplomats, and laureates gathered to mark one of the most significant commemorative events of our time, the 2025 Laureates' Day celebration in honor of Nelson Mandela's legacy. But what makes this year's celebration truly unforgettable is not just the reaffirmation of Mandela's eternal place in the hearts of humanity, but a profound declaration made by none other than the United Nations Secretary-General himself. In a heartfelt and resounding speech that drew standing ovations from every corner of the assembly, he honored the legacy of Nelson Mandela and declared that a new light has emerged from Africa, Captain Ibrahim of Burkina Faso, whom he boldly described as the new Mandela of our time. This powerful statement didn't just reverberate across the hall, it stunned the world. Why would the United Nations chief make such a bold comparison? What has Captain done to deserve a place alongside a global icon like Mandela? Let us unpack that together. Nelson Mandela was not just a leader. He was a symbol, a man who defied apartheid, endured 27 years in prison, and emerged not with vengeance but with vision. He became a beacon of forgiveness, unity, and reconstruction, an architect of peace where many would have sought war. Today, Captain Ibrahim, the young and fearless leader of Burkina Faso, is emerging as a similar force in the face of persistent neocolonial pressures, foreign military interference, and exploitative resource control. Has taken an unshakable stance for self-determination, dignity, and African unity. He has shown the courage to reject dependence on global financial institutions that have historically left African economies crippled. He has called out the hypocrisies of international aid that come with strings attached. He has empowered his people, reignited hope, and above all, refused to compromise on his nation's sovereignty. The UN chief, in his tribute, acknowledged S resolve not out of political flattery but because embodies the values that Mandela fought for: justice, equality, and freedom. In recent years, Burkina Faso has taken strides that stunned the international community. Under Captain's leadership, the nation has reclaimed control over its natural resources, ensuring that wealth flows back to its people, not foreign corporations, strengthened regional cooperation with other African nations resisting neocolonial influence, including Mali and Niger, removed foreign military bases and declared a new era of Pan-African defense and solidarity. Invested in youth employment, agricultural modernization, and infrastructure projects without loans from IMF or colonial financial institutions. These are not just policy changes, they are the makings of a revolution, a peaceful revolution built on empowerment rather than war, on truth rather than propaganda. The UN Secretary-General emphasized that Mandela's greatest strength was his ability to lead with moral clarity. Captain, he argued, is doing the same, leading not just with political authority but with moral conviction. He is standing in the fire of global criticism, propaganda, and economic threats, and yet he stands unshaken. And perhaps that is why the comparison is not just valid, it is necessary. This recognition by the UN chief is more than symbolic, it is a signal. A signal that the world is beginning to see what Africa has always known. that true leadership is not defined by how many Western allies you have or how many billions in loans you attract. It is defined by how fiercely you fight for your people, how willing you are to sacrifice comfort for principle, and how determined you are to change the story of your continent. But this declaration also comes with responsibility. Mandela's life was not just celebrated, it was challenged at every turn, and so too will S. journey be tested. Already, there are forces at work to discredit him, to isolate his country, and to destabilize his reforms. But as the UN chief so powerfully stated today, the world must not stand by in silence when a young African leader dares to rise with integrity. He called on the African Union, regional bodies, intellectuals, and the African diaspora to rally around leaders like, to offer them not just applause but protection, to defend them not just with words but with policies, actions, and solidarity. This is a moment of awakening, a moment when a generation can choose to break the chains of the past and walk boldly into the future. As we reflect on this powerful recognition, let us also remember that Mandela did not work alone. His greatness was made stronger by the people who stood with him, who marched, resisted, voted, and sacrificed. Captain Traoré cannot build a new Burkina Faso or a new Africa on his own. We must stand with him, because when one African nation rises, it raises the spirit of the continent. When one leader speaks truth to power, it empowers millions, and when one voice refuses to be silenced, we all learn how to roar. So tonight, let us echo the message from the United Nations floor to every village, city, and capital in Africa. Captain Ibrahim is not just leading a country, he is inspiring a movement. He is not the next Mandela in name, but in action, courage, and purpose. Let us protect that light, let us nurture it, and let us carry it forward for the future of Africa and the hope of generations yet unborn. Thank you.
Mr. President of the General Assembly, Excellencies, Mandela Prize winners, Ms. Brenda Reynolds, Mr. Kennedy Odette, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we celebrate the life and legacy of Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. Madiba's extraordinary life was a triumph of the human spirit. He endured the brutal weight of oppression and emerged not with a vision of vengeance and division, but of reconciliation, peace, and unity. Today, Madiba's legacy is now our responsibility. We must carry forward this commitment to peace, justice, and human dignity. One of the central lessons of Mandela's life was that power is not a personal possession to be hoarded. Power is about lifting others up. It's about what we can achieve with one another and for one another. Power is about people. In every facet of his life, Nelson Mandela demonstrated the power of collective grassroots action to drive change and progress and deliver power to the powerless. This same spirit can be found in today's winners of the Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela Prize. Ms. Brenda Reynolds is a Saulteaux member from Fishing Lake First Nation in Canada. She's a social worker who turned the struggle against the most hideous of crimes against children into a national force for change, supporting and developing trauma responses for survivors and families of the residential school system. Mr. Kennedy Odette grew up in the Kibera slum in Kenya. A long-time community activist, the organization he founded unites community groups from across the country and now reaches more than 2.4 million people each year with essential services, everything from education to water. Both prize winners embody Nelson Mandela's words, which are engraved on their prizes, and I quote, "What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived, it is what difference we have made to the lives of others." End of quote. On behalf of the United Nations, I congratulate Ms. Reynolds and Mr. Odette on this well-deserved recognition. Excellences,
Your Excellencies, as the United Nations celebrates its 80th anniversary, Nelson Mandela's legacy of reconciliation and transformation continues to inspire and to drive us. Around the world, human rights and dignity are under threat, not only from conflict and instability, but from systematic inequalities, exclusion, climate disasters, and the rollback of hard-won freedoms. Now is the time to renew our global commitment to the principles that define our organization and indeed the extraordinary life of Nelson Mandela. Freedom, justice, equal rights, solidarity, reconciliation, peace. Today and every day, let's continue following the path and principles set by Nelson Mandela's life of service and progress. I thank you.
As reactions continue to pour in from across the continent, one thing is clear. Africa is demanding respect, sovereignty, and accountability. Was this just a diplomatic misstep or a deeper sign of shifting global alliances? We'll be watching closely. If you found this story important, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real, unfiltered African news. This is Talk of Africa 360, telling the stories that matter.